Hi friends, this is Caitlin, and today I'm sharing with you the new Pink and Main August 2022 release, which is out today. So we're starting off with the Happy Harvest little set. So cute, and I love that the sentiments have coordinating dies. This is great for fall and obviously definitely Thanksgiving. Then we have the Halloween Brew, these sweet little spiders getting a little bit witchy, and again, the sentiments have coordinating dies. We have the Cute Ghosts, which are so cute. They're so sweet. I definitely want to stamp these out of vellum and see how that goes because they're just adorable. We also have the Fall Snow Globe set. I love this sentiment. Fall is my favorite after you, of course. And these are great because you can put them in the snow globe dies that are already out, or you can just use them on their own and make them into their own scenes. Super cute. We have the Micro Dots embossing folder, which I am going to be using today. I am obsessed with this thing. The dots are so cute and it just gives a great texture. Then we have the Cocoa for You fall mugs. If you know Pink and Main, they definitely have the most cute Christmas mugs like this that came out last year, and I was dying for these fall ones. I'm going to use that today. Then we have the Modern Foliage, which is such a different look and has great stamps for layering and creating like a really modern feel, definitely a little bit different for me. Then we have these leafy dies 1 and 2. Each set comes with coordinating dies that you can layer one on top of each other, and I think these would be amazing to do with like alcohol inks or even like watercolor, and then put the like frame die on top of. So definitely really interesting, something different for me. And we have the Bold Leaves. This is a giant stamp set, and it comes with coordinating dies for the sentiments and the leaves. And I just love this. I think this would be great for year round, but definitely perfect for fall. So there are a couple other items that I didn't get my hands on, but definitely go and check out the rest of the Newness. And while you're here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for me so you never miss out on my crafty inspiration on Fridays. So for today's card, I'm going to be going in with the Pumpkin Season pattern paper, as well as that Cocoa for You and the Micro Dots. So see, what happened was I thought I hit record, and then I started making my card and I realized that I didn't hit record. So we have a card base already. So I used that pattern paper plaid. I cut a piece of the dark brown cardstock to make a little bit of a mat, and I used the brighter orange cardstock with the micro dots. I also stamped that sentiment onto a darker orange cardstock and heat embossed it with the Pink and Main white frosting embossing powder, and got all of that ready. So our card base is ready. We're jumping into coloring. I'm going in with my E09 to start shading in my mug. I really wanted to play up the idea of this being like a very textured mug. Of course, I personally own a couple different pumpkin shaped mugs, and I love that they have like the pumpkin ridges and they're actually shaped like pumpkins and not just a flat mug with a pumpkin printed on it. So I really wanted to play up the idea of that kind of texture on this mug. And so I'm just going in and creating some shading at the top and bottom, and also all of those places where each kind of lobe of the pumpkin would tuck inward. Now, next up was my YR18. I'm just kind of extending that shading from the top and the bottom so they're getting closer to each other in the middle. I decided to leave the cheeks separate on this one, and I'm going to be coloring those in pink, but you could definitely just keep the orange going throughout, or get a little bit creative with how you want to do that. I also love a white pumpkin, and so my next goal is to make this mug into like a creamy white pumpkin mug, because I'm a sucker for those too. So going in with YR16, and I think that might have been the YR07 before, just to start shading and blending everything out. As always, I will have all of the colors that I used today listed in the description box below for you, so that if I go too fast or I skip over a color, you can always check down there for the full list. So I decided, like I said, to give my pumpkins some rosy cheeks. And so I just went in with a couple different pinks just to help kind of play up that texture again. And then for my pumpkin spice coffee inside, I went with some E59, 57, and 55. You could do whatever kind of brown colors you have, though. I don't think there's a wrong color for this. Although for me, I'm definitely more of a latte or extra cream girl. So my coffee had to be a little bit lighter versus darker. I wanted to add some green for my leaves, so I pulled out my YG90s. I just love the kind of olive tone that these markers have, and I think it really plays up that really fun fall vibe. So I had stamped some of the extra leaves out as well because I wanted to cut them out and use them kind of to frame out the bottom of my cup. So I colored in 2 of them orange using the same colors that I used on my pumpkin. And then I grabbed my YR20s and used those just to create some golden ones, just to bring in a third really pretty fall color. The last thing up was this sweet little acorn. So just again, trying to stick with the same kind of color tones across my card. I used the same brown markers for my coffee to color in my little acorn. And I love how sweet that little acorn cap is and all the texture that's already on there for you. Now, because I wanted this to look like a glazed, shiny coffee mug, I did go in with some white gel pen, and then it was time to die cut everything out. Obviously, I had to run my leaves through a couple times just because I had stamped so many of them, but these were actually a lot easier than I thought they would be to line up, and everything cut out so cute. Now, because I stamped the whole front, or completed the whole card base of my card without you, I thought it would be nice to do some inside stamping. I am trying to push myself harder to actually do that. So I took another sentiment from the set that said Happy Fall and this sweet little pumpkin, and I'm stamping that in some Distress Oxide inks. I believe this is the Spice Marmalade, and that's just a little fun extra pop of color on the inside of the card, still giving myself plenty of space to put my handwritten message to my recipient. So I scored my card base, and then it was time to tape in my card panel. I really like to use my Tombow permanent, but I ran out as I was filming this. So I added in some Pink and Main liquid glue, the Easy Squeeze glue, which also works just fine, and got that into place. Then I lined up kind of a rough draft of where I wanted all my items to go, and I decided that I wanted to pop up my pumpkin and kind of play with tucking the leaves around it and gluing some of them down flat just to give a little bit of extra dimension. So once I had a good estimate of where those were going to go, that's why those leaves are kind of just hanging out there. They're just holding the place for me, and then I just kind of tuck them out of the way and put that mug down into place. So for my foam squares, I am using the new Simon Says Stamp foam squares that are really thin. I am in love with these foam squares. They're the perfect thickness where you have the ability to kind of tuck things and sequins and rhinestones wherever you want, but they do not add a ton of bulk. And I love them for something like this where I already have extra bulk from multiple layers and that dot texture from my embossing folder. And so a really thick tape would just make this huge, and it would be so I'd have to do extra work to send it, and I don't want to ever have to do that if I can avoid it. So I added the same kind of foam squares to the back of my sentiment, lined that up so it was just a little bit overlapping the bottom of my cup, and then it was time to start adding in my leaves. So I wanted one leaf kind of floating up from the top, and I thought that would give me a chance to kind of spread out my sparkly embellishments when we get to that in a second too. So I also played around with the placement of my leaves. I knew I didn't want any of the orange leaves on the top in front of the pumpkin, just because it would be too much kind of orange on orange, and I thought it might get lost. So I glued that one orange leaf more towards the back. I popped my acorn into place, and then I'm going to take one of those teeny tiny little foam squares, which is also from Simon Says Stamp, and use that just to help hold up my leaf right in the front. And then I was going to put orange and then thought I should switch it up. So I moved the orange a little bit further over and yet let the yellow go in front so that it would pop against that orange pumpkin mug color. For this side, the space was much smaller, so I just trimmed one of those little tiny foam squares in half and tucked my leaf right underneath, and it was perfect. So I grabbed these really beautiful kind of creamy gems from the Warm Jelly Gems little embellishment assortment. And I just tucked 3 of these around. I think that they just give the perfect amount of sparkle, and the color is so neutral that it could literally go with anything. So I am so in love with how this card turned out. This release is so gorgeous. I hope you're feeling super inspired. I definitely hope that you will go check out the rest of the release online at pinkandmane.com, as well as there's tons of sneak peek inspiration over on the blog. And I'll leave all of that linked down below for you. So I hope you have an amazing week. And as always, happy crafting.